Hi everyone, welcome to our webinar on the blues in January. Now this is well done for coming in if you're an accountant, by the way, because this is January. So if you're able to spare half an hour, 45 minutes for this, brilliant. With this, I'm just going to share a few things that we do in Naylor Accountancy Services that I think are useful just to be aware of. I'm also going to just go through why you should probably listen to me, and just a few reasons that you might want to. I am MD for Naylor Accountancy Services. I've grown Naylor Accountancy Services since 2011, so I started it from nothing. And I've got Intelligent Outsourcing, which is my other business, where we create offshore teams. And I've been doing that since 2016. And in that we have basically over 100 team members that work for other accountants as well. In Naylor Accountancy Services, we have offices in Southampton, London, and Tunbridge Wells, and also Crowborough, which is virtually the same as Tunbridge Wells. This is for accountants, so I hope everybody on it is an accountant. This won't be anything that will be transferable to anyone else, and it's literally just talking about 7 different things that we do within Naylor Accountancy Services that allow us to not panic in January and get most of our self-assessments done basically by October. So 31st of October is our main deadline for ourselves. We have little deadlines on the way, which I'll go through with you. But the whole point of it is we didn't get there straight away. We used to go to the wire. It used to just be me in the business. And then when we did an acquisition in 2011, they were a nightmare. So within Naylor Accountancy Services, we suddenly had to do all the self-assessments virtually in January that they had, because everything was to the wire all the time, and it was difficult bringing them all on board because the year-end accounts were to the wire, VATs were to the wire, so we had to push everything back, so do almost like double the work to make sure we could then get on the front foot, so we're on the back foot. So the second year was a lot better. And then well, a lot better, but then it got even better as we put better and better processes in. So if you're an accountant, do stay, do watch this, and hopefully you will find some value in it. The whole point of this series of webinars is just to enlighten people on something that we think is useful to accountants, and see how we can help just fill gaps if you want that. Obviously we can help with many different things if you require it, but I am going to attempt to just share my screen. So what I'm going to do is take you through a mind map. It's the first time I've done this, guys, so just please do bear with me if it doesn't work quite as I wanted it to. But I want to take you through a mind map, and the mind map is basically of the January blues, beat the January blues, but I'm going to hide this straight away, so I should have hidden this already. So you will see all this at the end. By the way, this is just because I am going to be doing a presentation, and I'm going to take you through each step at a time. So beat the January blues. Like I say, we've got 7 steps within Intelligent Outsourcing, within Naylor Accountancy Services, and within that, these are things that I see as the big reasons for it working really well. So the first big step is processes. We have lots of processes in place that we keep updating, changing, and everything. We have something called Project Perfect. Within Project Perfect, anything that goes wrong, just a tiny little thing, it could be a payroll, and this is obviously self-assessment, or anything just like an email not going out the right time or something like that, we will put it in Project Perfect. We'll look at getting a solution, talk about the issue and create a solution, change the processes, and then make sure it sort of all gets feeded back down to the whole back office team, and make sure it goes forward. So processes are big to us. Requesting data, so that's the big thing. So the way we do that is you make sure you request the data early. So we look to request the data at the end of April. By doing that, you're getting it straight in there, basically doing it as soon as possible. And then what we do is so end of April. So I've just said that. And then also we chase 3 times and then call. So the interval between those those 3 times, it depends on the type of information we're wanting. It should be weekly or bi-weekly, and then we'd have a phone call to try and get information in. At the beginning of April, it's not weekly at that stage, it'll be bi-weekly, but we're looking to get that information in quickly, making sure that the clients know that we want it. What we do as well, within the template of the email, we sort of highlight the benefits of getting their self-assessments done quickly. The main one being they know their tax. If they've got any tax to reclaim, they can reclaim it straight away. That's really big for CIS. If you've got CIS, because lots of those have tax reclaims. It doesn't happen often for many other people, but we look to do that. And we have administrators sort of chasing that. So we have 2 admins in Naylor Accountancy Services, and they chase everything at the early stage. So they will be doing all the requests. We have it all in our practice management system. So the jobs are there. It all goes through, and we make sure that they are looking, chasing that, and the jobs are getting done. We won't use the accountants until later, basically, because at the start, it's just the time suck is getting that information. Basically, and they'll do the calls. They do get escalated if that's required. And they don't stop chasing, so they will constantly be chasing. It can annoy some clients. And what happens if a client would say, well, look, I can't get it to you until a month's time because I've got something big project on, or 2 months time, then the admins will put a stop on it, put it in the job, and create the job to start again when they said that they would have it by, and then they'll start chasing from then again and say, oh, look, you said you'd have it ready by then. So it's moving it all onto somebody who's not an accountant, because the biggest time suck we've found, and I'm sure if you're an accountant, you'll find the same, is chasing for information. It's not actually the doing of the work, it's the chasing of information. So that's the biggest time suck in lots of these cases. And then we have here, do easy ones ASAP. What we mean by that, what I mean by that is anything that is like a director's salary and dividend. We do those self-assessments straight after the year end, and year-end accounts have been completed. If it's one that is, from before the 5th of April, we can actually get that done really quickly at the end of April, May, and then we can almost have that conversation that the self-assessment's done in May for those clients. So these are the easy ones, and we'll get the guys, to do that, the accountants, to just put those together. So, and then we've got jobs created. So we do create jobs, well, I've already said that, in our practice management system. So everybody has a job, and they're accountable. So that makes sure that it gets done. So what gets measured gets done, everyone says. So we make them accountable in the jobs, in the practice management system. And the data sort of goes on that accountability bit. So this is our second big one, data. You need data. If you don't have the data like KPIs and stuff, you don't actually know what you are looking at. So the big one is we do weekly monitoring. So we monitor this weekly. We have leadership meetings on a weekly basis. I will be talking more about this at the end, but I don't have it with me. Oh, the book's there, just there. So the firm you want, in there I talk about the rhythm of the business, and in our leadership meeting there we have data in there which talks about how many self-assessments have been done, what's actually gone out to clients to be signed as well, so we know what's happening. And this we do this from April until January, basically. So we will actually be doing it all that way through, so we know what's actually going on. I mean, the 5th of April and after. We don't normally start until sort of the last 2 weeks of April. And then we request emails requesting the data. So we actually monitor the emails going out and how many have gone out as well. So we know when they've gone out and how many have gone out. In the leadership meeting, we don't look at the granularity, but they do in so we're going that into later, but we have an offshore team in the Philippines for Naylor Accountancy services, and they do a lot of the operations. So the person in charge of that team will be going through all that. They have a sort of monthly data they go through, and they'll be bringing that up if there's issues as well. If there's in those leadership meetings, because the team leader of that's in the leadership meeting. Calls, they will call. So we like I said, but we will monitor when they were called and how many. So we'll monitor that as well. What we've found is that the more calls you make, or if you make a phone call, they're more likely to get the information, and you're more likely to get an answer as to when you will give the information. So if someone's saying they're busy, what we always would ask is, so when do you think you'll have it ready by? When would you have it ready by? So we want to get a date. So we want the client to agree to a date. As long as they agree to it, they've made an agreement with us to get it to that date. So in their head, they've got to do it as well. So it's a bit of mindset and psychology there. So we want to get a date. We want to get some timing, and then we can actually deal with it. And then they can be followed up by the admins. The admins sit in the Philippines as well, just so you're aware of that. So they do call from there and email from there as well. Data received. So when the data is received, we monitor that. So we know that's received. And we also know what data hasn't been received. So if they've got rental income, they may have sent in their personal income. This is if it's, and everything like that, or we've got that and dividends, but we may not have that. We might be interest income as well, or we might be missing interest income, but we'll know exactly what we're missing, and that will be continued to be chased, but not the rest. Then you've got the number of self-assessments sent. That's the big one. That's what we see in the leadership meeting. So we see the number of we see the number of sent to get client signature, and we also see the ones that have actually been submitted as well. So that's what we look at, and we look at the percentages of what has actually been completed and what's still left behind as well. What gets measured gets done is a big mantra, and that is really key here. It is true. It really is, because as soon as we started monitoring it on a weekly basis, you can see it. And the big thing for everybody who's an accountant bookkeeper to get in your heads and also your team's heads is that if you have, say, I'm just saying a number very easy, but if you say you've got 60 team members self-assessments to do, you've got you can call a certain number a day, and you know that you've got through that 60. So in 6 weeks, if you do 5 a day, you'll be 12 weeks, you'll have actually contacted every single. If you do 10 a day, you'll be done it all in 6 weeks. So you could contact 10 clients a day by email or whatever, you or one of your team members, and then you will have gone through all of that 60 within 6 weeks. Just chunk it down. So you've 5-day work week, that's working there. So 5 days. I'm sorry, you've done it in 6 days. If you're doing 10, my maths has been silly. So within 6 days, you'll have gone through all of them. But then you can do it within 3 months. You'll have done it loads. If you then do it every 2 weeks or whatever, you'll actually get through all that list very quickly. And then person assigned task. So we always assign a task to the person. So there's always somebody that is actually responsible, not just a group of people, because then nobody takes responsibility. So KPIs. So we do give KPIs, and we have this on a client manager basis. So the guys that actually sit in our leadership meeting. So within that, the client managers, they have responsibility to get 50% of self-assessments done by the end of June. Ideally, we want more than that, but by the end of the June, we need to be having at least 50% done. Now, the reason it's not more than that is because some clients don't don't see the urgency. I do want to be pushing this up if we're able to, but I need to get buy-in from the client managers because they're going to be pushing it all the way down to the accountants and the admin of what is required to bring it back up. But we actually exceeded this with one of our client managers, and the other two didn't. You know, they were on track. What we call on track. Then we have 70% by the end of well, we have an end of September, but in reality, we want it by end of October to be even better than that. And then by end of November, we look at 85% completely done. We do have one in October as well, but we're looking at these sort of earmarks so that we can actually get them there ASAP. Then what we do offer is a discount for early filing. So what we had and have, and if you're an accounts and bookkeeping firm that does self-assessment, you will see this. You have the same clients every year giving you late filings, late information and everything. It's always the same people. So what we did is we increased the fees of those late people because we know we're not going to get it unless we do anything to try and do the carrot and the stick approach. However, what it also does is it means that we don't mind it so much doing it late because we're going to get more money, which will sort of pay for the fact that we're constantly chasing as well. So within this, then we have a £150 discount if it gets there before end of July. This is what we had this year. And we get £100 discount if it's by between the 1st of August and the 31st of October. So those are the two discounts that we give because we want to be ideally getting most of them done by the end of October. We've said sort of 85 by November. Again, those are what we sort of utilize this year, and we will be looking at it after this year, self-assessment. So in February, when we have our annual strategic meeting, we'll be looking at moving that dial because ideally I want it doing and completing quicker. Although this year's been actually fine, it's nice to have most of them done before Christmas so people aren't worried about anything, and also clients know exactly what they're going to be paying. I've talked a lot about meetings. Now we do have regular meetings, and now that I talk about in the book, The Firm You Want. I talk about the rhythm of the business. Now, this is something that came to me later in my business career, or having my own businesses, but it really makes a massive difference. Those regular meetings at the same time, the same and the same length of time, and stick to the timing of that meeting as well. It really makes a difference just to move the dial, even when you don't think it's worthwhile having, because it moves the dial on so many things that you wouldn't even know. Oh, sorry, I've gone the wrong way. Oh, I'm going backwards. I apologize. Like, this is the first time I've used this bit of tech. So that's the leadership meeting. So we have the weekly leadership meeting, and that is so critical for the whole way we do things in Naylor Accountancy Service and intelligent outsourcing. Without that, we wouldn't be covering things as quickly as we do and moving things forward because we don't have as many issues. So with the self-assessments, with year ends and that payroll, because we're constantly doing that. And within that, we have the Project Perfect, which is constantly looking at how we can improve things and the issues, making sure the solution's there. Weekly reviews. So within the leadership meetings, we have the weekly reviews. That team also have the reviews as well. So we have data and the progression that we look at and monitor, and there everybody has the KPIs that they need to meet as well, and that filters from the top and then down. So we do give KPIs to the accountants on all the self-assessments that need to be done by a certain time. It gets more, drastic the closer it gets to those deadlines that we have assigned ourselves, and obviously the real deadline. Defined role. So everybody has a defined role of what is required within the self-assessment space. So we have admins, data collection, and chasing, and also sending out self-assessments and everything like that. And then we also have, well, I'll go through it actually. So admin, that's what they do. And then, chase the initial data. They follow up emails, and that's critical because you can send an email, gets lost, and you need to be following up on it. If you don't follow up on it, nothing's going to happen. And there needs to be phone calls as well. So they'll be doing that until they get one, and the call if no data. So the calls are, like I say, important because by calling them, they're more likely to take action. And then we can also ascertain when we should be chasing them again. Focal point. Now, every one of our clients has a focal point, an admin, and also a client manager. A focal point is an accountant. So they sit in the Philippines, and they are the person that will be doing the compliance for that client, and the client manager will be the one doing the meetings with them. So they do the self-assessments. So they will be doing the self-assessments. At least most of them. There are some that don't. They'll be asking questions of the client if that's required, and they will do some chasing of final data. So once the admins brought all the data in, there's always some extra data that might be required. They might find out about, and that's what will happen within the focal points, the accountant. Then you have the client manager. So the client manager's role is to review the self-assessment. So they review them, make sure that they're happy with them. If there's any changes, they'll get the changes done and get their focal point to do it, so they know how to do it next time. They will also do the most complex self-assessments, because we do have some that are complex, with overseas assets maybe, and things. They may have sold some capital gains work that needs to be worked out and things like that. So they will be doing the more difficult type work on that side as well. Oh, I'm going backwards again. And then, putting all this together, we have offshoring. So I've talked about the focal point, and I've talked about the admin. So the focal point are the accountants in the Philippines that we have, and they will be doing most of the self-assessments, especially the simple director ones. They will then have the admin. So this is within our offshore team, out in the Philippines. We have a team of 8 out there, and then they'll do the legwork with the admin. So the admin is really important because it's actually takes the pressure off the accountants, and it also takes the pressure off the focal point to get the information. They can carry on doing their bookkeeping, the VAT, the payroll, doing the self-assessments they have got, and year-end accounts. And then the client manager can focus on the client relationship, the review of their accounts, the review of their self-assessments, and those meetings with the clients as well. So that is everything in a nutshell. So I'm going through it quickly, and the reason is, so I'm just wanting to stop this presentation. Let me stop it, because then you can actually see the full whack. Let me just close that. So hopefully you can see the full mind map. You've got the processes, you've got the data, you've got the KPIs, you've got discounts. For some people do it so it costs more. So we were debating, do it discounts or it just costs more the later you get. Either way is fine, in my opinion. Why we did discounts is because our client managers believe that it's better to say it's this price, but you can get it cheaper. So like the carrot rather than the stick, where you're going to have to pay more. So they've agreed the price, and then it's for them to get the cheaper price. What we just did for everybody, just so you know, is we just increased it by £150. So whatever it was, and plus inflation. And then all we did was, just get discounted to what it would be if they did it normal time. Then define roles, and offshoring is very key to Naylor Accountancy Services and how we operate. So I hope that was useful. I have gone through that in 25 minutes, so that's brilliant. That's not the quickest I've ever done a webinar like this. It is the first time I've done that, as in going through it. So with the mind map as well. So I do apologize for some of the hiccups there. But what I'd say is just break everything down. It didn't take us long to get it all fixed once we started looking at the different elements and getting them in place. If you are a smaller team, it does take a little bit more time. But if you start doing monitoring on a regular basis, and you may not want to do it weekly, but at least do it, well, monthly is too little, I think, but because you don't see things moving during the week. So by doing it by a week, the good thing about that is if you see nothing's happening, you've got time the next week for the team to actually move things forward. If you do it monthly, it's too late. It has to be the next month. And then by the time you find out it's not happened the next month, that's 2 months gone. So that's why a weekly one, I believe, is the better one. But if you just break those rhythm of the business. Now, my book, I'll just go on. I've got one here, but it's got loads of bits in. I apologize, but I'm just going through it and having a look at it myself. But this book, The Firm You Want, is available on Amazon at $9.99. It's also on Kindle at $1.99. But if you do want a free copy, just message me on LinkedIn or DM me there, or you can actually just you can just email back to my email address, which Luther will be sending out this YouTube video as well if you want later, so you can just see that. Then I don't mind giving you a copy of that. I'll send a free copy of my book. The other one is, if you would like to know more about offshoring and how we use that, and also just how it might help you with admins or actual accountants. The accountants are the main ones initially. Then let me know, and we can actually book a meeting with our partnership team as well, and they can have a conversation with you. But if you have any questions as well, I should have said that. Have you got any questions on any of this process? I don't know if anybody does. I mean, the big thing for me is that it's just having a plan of what to do if you have got issues with it, even if you don't have issues, just to make it slicker. Like I say, we are always looking at project perfects. So we're always looking at how we can make things better, easier to do, and also just giving better service to the client. So if we can give better service to the client, get things quicker to them, they'll be happier. They'll know what their tax is. They don't have a big tax bill to pay the next day or that day, which is what we found with our first acquisition. Everybody was getting their year-end accounts and self-assessments the day that they had to pay it or the day before they had to pay it. So it's really not good practice to do that. So it's better to give people time and give that as a service. You will get a video of this. If you do want the mind map, just let us know as well. Just go back on the email or message me on DM me, and we'll send that to you as well. It's just a PDF, so that was in something called a Yoa, so I created that in there, but I've got a PDF version of that you can have. So if there's no questions, I hope that the January blues don't overtake you. There's not long left. You've got 8 days left until everything must be filed. We have a few left, but they are the late ones, so there's no worry about them. They're the ones that just take time getting information to us, and they tend to always do it almost right to the end, and we can't help that. That's just somebody else's mindset, but we've attempted to change that on the way. Well, thank you for your time. I know it's precious, and I wish you a happy Wednesday and get those self-assessments done. Take care. Bye.